We will call the meeting to order. This is the June 4th, 2024 regular City of Ormond Beach, Florida City Commission meeting, and we are in Commission chambers. I hope you felt welcomed as you came in by our police captain, Chris Roos, and our Deputy Fire Chief, Nate Courtier, who served as our greeters tonight. I'd like to take a moment, introduce the folks who are sitting up in front of you. To my right, your left, we have our recording secretaries this evening, Taylor Lockhart and Justin Isaacs. Next, we have City Clerk Susan Dotteris. And then our Zone 1 City Commissioner, Lori Tolland.
Good evening, everyone. Glad you're here.
Our Zone 2 City Commissioner, Travis Sargent.
Good evening.
To my left and your right is Zone 3 Commissioner Susan Persis.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome.
Then we have Deputy Mayor, Zone 4 Commissioner Harold Briley.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome.
City Manager Joyce Shanahan. Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley. City Attorney Randy Hayes. And then way to my left and way to your right are our chiefs, Police Chief Jesse Godfrey and Fire Chief Howard Bailey. And for those of you listening online, I'm Mayor Bill Partington. At this time, if you would please silence your cell phones and rise for the invocation given by Pastor Mike Petrick from Harbor Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day to gather in this assembly. Father, I pray your eye will be upon all that's done tonight, and Lord, be done for good of this community and the glory of God. And Lord, we give you thanks. I pray, God, that you would please work in everyone's lives. God, especially as they're dealing here amongst very personal things and public things, and that all order will be done in a good way. And Lord, it would be just settled well with everybody here today. Again, we are privileged to be your children, and we just humbly come before you knowing that you're the God of all things. I pray you keep these officers here before me in safety, Lord. I thank you for our first responders of all sorts here. God, I thank you for their goodness, what they do for our community. And Father, every business worker that does things for the good of their family, of course, but to the good of their employees, to the community as well. All these things work wonderfully together, and we just give you thanks. Help us to please you in all things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And this is the fun part of the evening where we get to do some recognitions and some celebrations. And tonight's a special night. We have the Secretary from the Florida Department of Transportation here, Mr. Jared Perdue. Mr. Perdue? Hold that out to the audience, and we're going to, I'll read the proclamation, and we're going to then bring your family up and get a picture with the commission in the background. Whereas Jared Perdue has served the Florida Department of Transportation since 2004, starting his public service journey in the Professional Engineer Training Program with District 3. And whereas the completion of this program and his passion for serving the people of Florida kick-started his career, Secretary Perdue's various leadership roles have touched nearly every aspect of the state's transportation system and the communities served. And whereas Secretary Perdue has played integral roles in the areas of development and operations, holding positions as District Geotechnical Engineer, District Traffic Operations Engineer, and District Design Engineer. His vast experience includes various modes of transportation, such as multi-use trails, and serving as CEO of Sunrail. And whereas on April 7th, 2022, Governor Ron DeSantis named him Secretary of the Florida Department of Transportation. In this role, Secretary Perdue oversees the agency's statutory responsibility of coordinating the planning and development of a safe, viable, and balanced transportation system throughout all regions of the great state of Florida. And whereas the completion of the Ormond Beach A1A pedestrian crosswalks project under Secretary Perdue's leadership stands as a testament to the successful outcome achieved through vision and collaboration, Ormond Beach and its visitors are the benefactors of enhanced safety and accessibility of public spaces. And whereas Secretary Perdue's leadership has been a guiding force in FDOT's Moving Florida Forward program, which will make improvements to transportation efficiency and safety for generations through projects such as the I-95 and US 1 interchange in Ormond Beach. Now, therefore, based on all that, I, Bill Partington, Mayor of the City of Ormond Beach, on behalf of our entire commission, do hereby proclaim today, June 4th, 2024, as a day to celebrate Jared W. Perdue, P.E., and urge all residents to join in expressing appreciation for his unwavering commitment to keeping Florida safe and prosperous. Congratulations. Wait. This is the part where I say, but wait, there's more. If I can get it out. It's my honor, Secretary, to present you with a key to the City of Ormond Beach to go with your proclamation. Thank you. All right. Just with us? Okay. We'll have the family come on up. I've got a little key for each of you guys. Dad gets the big key.
That's right. There you go.
Great stuff. And the family makes it all work. Family is so important. We're going to ask Secretary Perdue to just say a few words.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mayor Partington. We have, over the last several years, made communities the focus and centerpiece of everything that we do in transportation. As you can hear through, the proclamation, I'm personally very passionate about it. I'm surrounded by amazing people day in and day out that share the same passion. The district secretary and one of his directors is here tonight. I'm tremendously honored for this recognition, and I was just telling a few people that, we don't hear thank you a lot, but it means a lot to me personally, just simply to hear thank you from one of the communities that we serve, because we do love what we do. We are very passionate about it. And one of the things that I like to really highlight day in and day out, relationships and partnerships are the key to everything that we do. And you have an amazing team here at the City of Ormond Beach. Mayor Partington has been a tremendous partner. The City Commission has been very supportive of transportation. And Joyce has a tremendous partnership with DOT, and the relationship she's been able to build with not only me, but the whole team at DOT to actually get things done has been tremendous. And so I'll just end with this and encourage all of you, please continue to be advocates for the things that you need and the things that you want. It takes all of us working together to be successful. Thank you.
All right, now if Principal Harris could come up, and a young lady named Zizi, nicknamed Zizi, and also Mrs. Lemon. Got some great presentations and proclamations here. Zizi, you're not going to have enough hands. Look at that. Thank you. And there's a coin here, a challenge coin from the police chief, Jesse Godfrey, for Zizi, and also from Chief Bailey, a challenge coin from the fire department. And I'm going to read the proclamation here, two of them, just to let you know the incredible things that these folks did. And we'll start with Mackenzie, affectionately known as Zizi. It's with great honor and appreciation that we recognize Mackenzie Nichols, affectionately known as Zizi, for her remarkable composure and swift response to a recent tragic accident. And whereas on May 1st, 2024, Zizi, a CPR certified student of the Seabreeze Allied Health Academy and an upcoming senior in high school, demonstrated extraordinary calm and quick thinking when confronted with a devastating accident on A1A between Harvard Drive and Millsap Road. Zizi, a bystander, came upon the scene ahead of the dispatched first responders. And whereas despite the chaos of the situation, Zizi exhibited exceptional composure and courage by immediately offering CPR and assistance to the accident victims. Her involvement in the May 1st incident was not her first time rendering aid. Zizi helped first responders during another emergency earlier this year when she encountered a car crash involving a motorcycle. And whereas Zizi's actions not only reflect her personal integrity and dedication to the principles of medical service, but also serve as a testament to the effectiveness of Seabreeze High School's Allied Health Academy. Knowledge and skills acquired through the program have equipped Zizi to respond effectively to these emergency situations. And whereas Zizi will be employed as a lifeguard during the upcoming summer and aspires to pursue a career in emergency medicine upon her graduation in 2025. Now therefore, I, Bill Partington, Mayor of the City of Ormond Beach, on behalf of our entire commission, do hereby proclaim June 4th, 2024 as a day to commend Mackenzie Nichols for her outstanding display of composure and courage during these emergency response situations. Congratulations, Zizi. We've got one more, then we'll, here's what's going to happen. We've got one more proclamation. I'm going to let Mr. Harris say a few words because it's through his efforts that this academy continues to exist at Seabreeze and is doing amazing things. along with Mrs. Lemon, and then we'll get pictures. So right now, Kelly Lemon and the Seabreeze Allied Health Academy proclamation. Whereas we proudly commend the Seabreeze Allied Health Academy for its commitment to excellence in healthcare education and the advancement of allied health professions. Under the dedicated leadership of Kelly Lemon, who serves as the Academy Director and Head Athletic Trainer. And whereas through a meticulously planned curriculum, students are provided the opportunity to learn and get hands-on experience with allied health professions. Students complete coursework related to foundational medical skills and services, as well as comprehensive health science, anatomy, and physiology. Each level of the academy equips them with the knowledge, skills, and real-world experience essential for thriving in the healthcare industry. And whereas at the heart of the Academy's mission lies the invaluable opportunity for students to immerse themselves in the practical realities of healthcare. Through extensive observation hours and guidance of seasoned professionals, students gain firsthand insights into the multifaceted nature of allied health professions. Whereas upon completion of the Academy, students emerge as poised and capable graduates and leaders ready to make meaningful contributions to the healthcare community. And whereas today we celebrate the Seabreeze Allied Health Academy under the guidance of Kelly Lemon for the past 5 years, as the Academy is a shining example of the transformative power of education and the limitless potential of tomorrow's healthcare professionals. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Ormond Beach, on behalf of the entire Commission, do hereby proclaim June 4th, 2024 as a day to celebrate Kelly Lemon and the Seabreeze Academy and the contributions both Mrs. Lemon and the Academy make towards the betterment of the healthcare profession and our community. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just honored to be up here as principal or #1 servant of Seabreeze High School. As a leader, it's important to have the confidence to surround yourself with those who are smarter, more effective, better in all categories, and I'm proud to say that sitting at the table is Kelly Lemon, who leads the Allied Health Program. I'm taking no credit for this. I walked into this program. I've only been at Seabreeze for 2 years, so that's been there before me. I'm just honored to serve you and the students and Zizi and the students. For me as principal, they asked me how it felt. Our goal is to prepare for the next phase, and learning, the goal of learning is to take conceptual, ideas or skills and then apply them into the real world setting, be it post at secondary education. So to see it, when I walked to her and I didn't even know she was in the mess, she stands up and starts, and I'm like, that's my Zizi in there, and once we cleared and made sure no students were involved, as I said in the paper, I tried to get her to go back with me, and I took some kids back who were watching, but she was hands-on, literally, and she asked, I just remember her saying, "Mr. Ayers, can I stay?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "I'll excuse you from first period," and she sounds good, and I took the kids back, and she stayed and assisted, and she just did an amazing job. So thank you, Ms. Lemon, for preparing her, and Zizi, thank you for repping the Sand Crab Nation so well and making us so proud. So thank you. Claws up, everybody. Claws up. Claws up.
Thank you, Principal Harris, and we're going to get a picture. I want to thank Matt Coleman for letting me know all about this, and then also the stories of people in our community now who are becoming doctors, who are nurses, because they went through your program. It's just incredible, the impact that you've already had and continue to have. So come on over a little bit. We'll get centered here and take some pictures.
Great job. Thank you.
All right. Like I said, it is an exceptional night with really some wonderful presentations, and we're not going to stop. Our next presenter is Lois Paritsky, Mayor of the City of Ponce Inlet, and she is also President of the Volusia League of Cities. She has done an amazing job for our community, and Lois, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity of speaking with you this evening. As Mayor Partington has said, my name is Lois Paritsky. I am the mayor of the town of Ponce Inlet, and I'm honored to serve as the president of the Volusia League of Cities. And this evening, I just want to speak very briefly about the Volusia League of Cities, the role and the mission, and I'm fully aware that we have participating members, and right here, Mayor Partington is a past president. He's a member of the board of directors, but I think it's still very important that we consistently look at the work that is done and that we continue in our mission. And what I'd like you to do is remember back to when you decided to enter into public life. You made a decision for some reason, whether it was because you wanted to bring something to fruition. Maybe you wanted to stop something that was occurring. You had ideas, you had opinions, you wanted to serve your community. Now, the League is a resource, and I would like you to see that what the League has to offer aligns with the needs of you helping your residents and being the most effective advocate that you could possibly be. Now, the League itself, as you know, all the cities in Volusia County belong to the League, and together we are a collective force, if you will, of advocates at the county, state, and federal level. And the League itself, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, the structure is we have a board of directors, it's chartered, we have 11 directors, and we have, of course, an executive director, Karen Allen, who runs it beautifully, as you often have a front row seat to her work. Now, the board itself meets bi-monthly, and the board will have dinner meetings. There is an agenda, and what is on the agenda? Well, what's on the agenda is actually working through our goal, helping our goal. What is our goal? We are elevating advocacy. We're elevating advocacy to show in Tallahassee what locally elected officials can do in order to benefit their residents. And we do that through workshops, we do it through educational programs. You know, we have our Form 6 workshop. We had an appropriation education from Representative Leak at a roundtable last year, and we host the in-person mandatory ethics. And in 2023, we implemented a mentorship program. That is a very, very popular program where the more seasoned elected officials work with the newly elected just to be there to help. And it turns out that both the mentor and the mentee gain so much from that program. We also established a local advocacy committee, and with that committee, what we do is we will address something that is more local in nature, such as in the past year, we worked on the Live Local Act, which dealt with affordable housing. So we want to make this optimal environment. We want to be able to help you when you speak with the legislators that, you know, oftentimes we know we're not going to defeat a bill. We're not going to stop the bill. But what we can do is help modify the bill, we can help amend the bill, and we do it by bringing local data to the legislators. And this year we had a very strong presence through the Volusia League during Legislative Action Days. We had 23 representatives from the Volusia League of Cities up in Tallahassee, and our presence was felt. It was a very strong presence. We had a strong voice there, but we are only as good as our members, and what I want to leave you with is that the League's commitment to escalate our advocacy is there for helping you with a foundation to help your residents. So that is what I came to share with you, and I'm not sure, Mayor Partington, as a member of the board, is there anything that you would like to perhaps add to that?
I would just say that both you and Mayor Miller have done an amazing job the last few years, really creating a infrastructure for advocacy that is second to none, and that has and will continue to benefit not only Ormond Beach but all of Volusia County moving into the future. So I want to thank you for that, the incredible work you've done. It's not easy, but things like the mentorship program, things like the bi-monthly meeting, the fact that I can't talk to any of these folks up here because of the sunshine outside of a publicly advertised meeting that complies with all the other rules involving sunshine, but I can talk to a Ponce Inlet council member, I can talk to my mentee who was the new Smyrna Beach mayor about issues that are similar that we're experiencing, but we're not going to vote together on those items, so there is no sunshine obligation, and we can learn from each other. This is how they attacked that particular issue, and it worked well for them. I learn a couple things, take it with me. I tell them how we handled certain things, they take it with them, and it's really just been wonderful. Communication and collaboration, I think, are the cornerstones of what you've instilled in everybody, and so I thank you for that, and thank you for being here tonight to impress that upon the rest of the board.
Well, I thank you so much. I thank you for the time, and I'm most appreciative. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, now this is a special night because it is the Citizens Academy graduation evening here in Ormond Beach. And I'm going to start this presentation with a few words from Joyce Shanahan, our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are quite proud of this was a strategic initiative the Commission tasked us with this year, and thanks to Susan Doteris and Justin Isaacs, they took it off and hit the ground running. From start to finish, the individuals created an interesting and fun presentations through all of the city departments. The inaugural Citizens Academy had a cohort of 20 individuals. Not everyone was able to make it at every evening. It was a six-week program that met on Thursdays for 2 hours, which is a perfect group size to visit and tour various departments. Sessions consisted of presentations, demonstrations, tours, and activities. We will offer a Citizens Academy on an annual basis, and I think we already have 3 people on the waiting list for next year. This was a wonderful opportunity. I had a chance to go to almost all of them, but really I'd like to give a round of applause to Susan Doteris and Justin Isaacs for their hard work on this program.
Thank you, City Manager Shanahan. And I was able to go to the first one. It was fantastic, and they've been through so many other sessions since then. You're better citizens now than you were when you started, which is incredible. And we thank you for your participation. Thank you to Deputy Mayor Briley for pushing this program. I told him it was the right time. Other people have pushed for it before, but it finally happened. The right people were in the right places, and staff made it happen. So thank you, Deputy Mayor Briley. And now I'm going to call each person up to get their certificate, and then you are directed to exit through the side doors. And I don't want to cause a stampede, but there is cake in the atrium, so it looks good. I can see it from here. All right, Gary Allen. You want them to stay up here for a group photo? Okay. Gary, stay up here for a group photo, and then we'll excuse you all at one time for the cake. Natasha Ares. William Ashmore. Barbara Bonarigo. Joe Dyke. Lance Hines. Jason Leslie. John Mahoney. Kristen Martino. Brittany Miller. Okay. Ellen Rabin. Philip Rangowski. Patricia Scudery. And Robert Scudery. Lisa Toria. Congratulations. Yep. Ruth Treichel. And last but not least, Darla Widnall. If we can get centered maybe a little better, I don't know, we might need 2 rows.
Congratulations, congratulations, Papa. Congratulations.
audience remarks. This time we will hear from those of you who have signed a card to speak about any item which is not on the printed agenda for this meeting. The City Commission has adopted a policy of a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. If you would direct your comments to me. The Commission will not respond to comments. If they do have anything to respond, it would be at the end of the meeting during their Commissioner comment time. And tonight we start with Tom Verna.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to address the Commission. I'd like to raise an issue that Commissioner Sargent raised in a previous meeting regarding the Riverbend Golf Course. Currently, Ormond Beach does not have a golf course. The closest golf courses are in Palm Coast or Bunnell, and I think the city would benefit, and citizens would benefit, from having a local golf course once again. And I think Riverbend is the perfect venue, and I would appreciate having this issue raised as an agenda item by the City Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. D. Smith. Followed by Cheryl Burnson.
My name is Donna Smith. I live in Ormond Beach, and I am here to speak for my husband and all his golfing friends. They have been mourning since the Riverbend was closed, and it just sits there and the weeds grow. And it is a terrible waste of a beautiful piece of property, which I think can benefit this city if they could just offer the property up for bid to somebody who might have the wherewithal and the desire to see the Riverbend Golf Course reopen. I read in somewhere that it cost $8 million. It would cost to repair it. But then I read that that was an incorrect statement. $8 million is what it cost the Eddy Corporation when they first built that golf course in 1991. We moved here in 1993. There were 2 golf courses available to my husband to golf. There was the one at Chamoka Oaks and the Riverbend. He went to Chamoka Oaks for a while, and then found Riverbend, and he fell in love with it, and so did his golfing friends, and it was a definite benefit. The mayor of the city, the League of Cities that just spoke, Mayor Paritsky, she said that her job and all what they were trying to achieve was advocacy for your citizens. And I believe that if you allow people to get up and have an item on the agenda that they can plead for, that would be a benefit of advocacy to your constituents. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Burnson, followed by David Jewell.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Burnson, and I live on North Halifax Drive. Last week, my neighbor was hit by a car, and she didn't survive. She was just crossing the street in front of her house. I didn't see what happened, but I heard the impact from inside my house, and it was so loud. It was like 2 cars hitting each other. And she was hit with such force, her shoes fell off. The driver of the car was not impaired. I'm sure he was driving the speed limit. The problem in my mind is that the speed limit is just too fast for a residential street. I understand it's a pass-through for a lot of people, but I guarantee that the driver of that car, which is he, had been able to stop. So I'm requesting an evaluation for a lower speed limit for North Halifax, double yellow lines so that people can't pass someone who they think might be going too slowly, and a four-way stop on Amstead. I'm not sure what the process is to do this. I would welcome some guidance on what I can do to push this forward. If I need to get petitions signed, I'm happy to do that. I know I have support from my neighbors. I did reach out to the engineering department of the city, and they said that they would do an evaluation once the police report came out, which I guess is going to be in a couple of weeks. And I'm just asking for the support of this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. David Jewell, followed by Klaus Lidke.
David Jewell, 2040 Tony Street, Ormond Beach. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm sure most of you remember who I am. I had a big, long speech all planned for tonight to probably use 20 minutes to a half hour. I decided to cut back. I've learned a lot about Grover Branch Creek since we started the developments over in my area. I'm not happy with some of the decisions that have been made. Most of you are aware of that. I did learn over the weekend where Grover Branch Creek starts out and where the water comes from and where it goes. I didn't realize that it comes right off of the Belvedere Tank Farm, crosses the street over into the athletic fields, follows down Timothy Street, cuts across behind there, and it follows down Pineland Trails. It comes out down on a piece of property owned by I believe it's by Ormond Beach, where they're building a new road that comes out of the industrial park and comes over to Pineland Trails. From there, it crosses across Pineland Trails, goes underneath I-95, where it goes underneath Timber Creek Road. It skirts along Durance, up by my friend's house, Les Burnside, that lives up there almost on the corner of Leeway. It makes a turn, and it goes all the way down where it enters into the new Tattersall project, and then it goes across the street, Timber Creek, and continues down around and over Airport Road, and that's where we've got problems. No maintenance has ever been done there. I've been here for 11 to 12 years. I've never seen anything done. Neighbors say nothing has been maintained in that area for 20 plus years. Last week I furnished the commission here with an article from the Florida Bar Journal. Hopefully some of you have had a chance to look at it. I spoke with a co-author yesterday from West Palm Beach, Leslie Cohen, and she explained to me a little bit about it, and she had great regret that Lee Worsham that wrote it is no longer with us, so he couldn't comment on it. I would suggest, if you haven't read it, read it, adopt some of the rules that is in there. It's very beneficial to everybody. Lee Worsham, if you look up his obituary, you'll find that what is in that Bar Journal document is but a smidgen of what this man did. He is very accomplished. Thank you, Dave.
Klaus Lidke, followed by Sheila Lind. Or Lidke, I'm sorry.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. I don't like to sound like a broken record, but I like to bring up Riverbend as well, and not just making comments, but also ask questions. Why did the city decide in 2020 not to have a bid out as is for Riverbend Golf Course? And now in 2024, why does the city still decide not to have the golf course out for as is bid? I believe if we would have today a referendum and ask the citizens of Ormond Beach to protect Greenfield, like Riverbend Golf Course to protect that area. And if we ask the citizens in a referendum if they prefer Riverbend Golf Course to be reopened or spending and wasting money on an airport that loses money, I believe we all here know what the answer will be. The citizens of Ormond Beach prefer the golf course any day over the airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila Lind, followed by Barb Moore.
Hi, Sheila Lind. I'm a resident of Bear Creek Village. There is an interest in putting the Riverbend Golf Course out for an as-is bid via an RFP for potential new leasing. A little over a year ago, Bear Creek was purchased by Cove Communities. I spoke with Bear Creek leadership about the Riverbend Golf Course property. They in turn spoke with Cove Corporate. They may be interested in the land, but they need more information. Here's the property manager for Bear Creek. I'd like to give you this business card. I'll give it to her.
Susan will take it.
So I'm all for growth, but it has to be smart growth. It has to be balanced growth. To have that land empty right now, there's an opportunity there for smart growth. With the fuel farm proposal, half a mile down the road, there is over 60 homes for sale in Bear Creek, and that's directly related to we don't know what's going to happen with that situation, so we're not going to hurry up and buy into Bear Creek. If you put the golf course there, I guarantee you these sales would happen, because it would be an incentive for people to come and live and be residents and be taxpayers and contribute. It would offset maybe that potential eyesore down the road. Even a 9-hole. I mean, I'm not a great golfer, but I'll go do 9 holes. So personally, I would like for you guys to really think about the roads through that area. When you leave Bear Creek and you go out Hall Road, if you make a left to go towards the airport and the sports complex, you get stuck. You have to go around and turn and turn and turn. There's no way to get out of that sports complex that does not take you back out to Route 1 and the railroad tracks. I'd like to see more roads to connect Bear Creek and the sports complex and the airport to more exits. Once that railroad is now functioning and hauling fuel in a potential disaster situation, it'd be nice to have another way to evacuate the 1,100 senior citizens that are in that retirement community. So minimally think about the roads in that area and what you guys are going to do with that. Thank you.
Barb Moore, followed by Connie Colby.
Good evening, Mayor Partington and City Commissioners. My name is Barb Moore, and I pray God's mighty hand and blessing over this meeting tonight. We are here to let you know, let the Commission know that there is interest in putting Riverbend Golf Course out for RFP with an as-is stipulation for a potential new lessee. I have always wondered why the golf course closed in December of 2020 and why we didn't put it out for an as-is proposal then. So that somebody could take it over immediately and care for the place, costing nothing with the city. And why now are we not putting it out as an as-is for Riverbend with the new land use plan? Still, it would cost the city nothing but make money for the airport. The letter that was dated February 9, 2021 from the FAA never said that it was not able to have another lease. The 2024 FAA land use guidelines have no problems with Riverbend Golf Course then, and they still don't have any now with the latest guidelines. It makes no sense that it wasn't put out for bid at that time. So it appears possibly that the golf course was closed only to extend a runway through 3 holes of the back 9. Also, last meeting when it was said that golf basically was no longer relevant, one would be astonished by the National Golf Foundation's golf research and demographics. The NGF has over 85 years of experience. They've been open since 1936, and they keep a tab on every golf course in the United States. And their article says that at the end of 2023, just 5-6 months ago, there were nearly 16,000 golf courses in the United States. That's more golf courses nationwide than Starbucks or McDonald's. The NGF went on to say that there has been a record 3.4 million who played on a golf course for the first time in 2023. That's huge, because when Tiger Woods was playing back at his height in 2000, there was 2.4 million new golfers then. So with 3.4 million just this last year, that's huge. And even more surprising is that there have been 10 straight years of astonishing growth with more than 2 million beginners. And with the last 4 years, each were topping 3 million new golfers. So with these explosive new golfers, these last 4 years especially, keep in mind that these were nearly the same 4 years that Riverbend has been closed and claimed that basically that it was a dying sport. Yet, reputable stats show that golfing is not a pastime. Take a look at the villages here in Florida. They have 38 executive golf courses, 12 immaculate championship courses, and 4 practice facilities. It appears that there is relevancy to playing golf. So we just request that the commission hold off on. Thank you. Good evening.
Yep, thank you, Barbara. Connie Colby, followed by Doyle Lewis.
I'll try not to repeat too much. First of all, I want to thank the people who helped out in my neighborhood this past week when we had a lot of disruption, especially Sean and Lori and Susan. I appreciate that. There must be a way for the golf course and the airport to coexist and make peace in this town. The Riverbend Golf Course was a great asset to the city of Ormond Beach. It was always busy and provided a public purpose for our residents, visitors, and businesses. Much business does happen on the 19th hole. The golf course provided much needed income for the golf course. FAA does not forbid golf courses in these areas. The cities of New Smyrna, Port Orange, and Daytona Beach all successfully operate public golf courses. Other city courses offer kids an opportunity to learn the sport. Our kids don't have that opportunity. The residents of Ormond Beach should not expect less for their city. Golf, while it may have slowed down during COVID, is not dead. The local courses are crowded with wait tee times. Adena Golf Course in Ocala was closed in 2018. It just reopened this year. Stony Brook West and Winter Garden closed in 2018, and it reopened in 2023. Riverbend was an affordable public golf course. We'd like to know how they accomplished being reopened. When we moved here full-time in 2004, we had a great public golf course, which I appreciated my husband being able to use. We never thought to ask if we had an airport or a business park. I don't know too many other people that really asked for that information when they moved here. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Doyle Lewis, followed by Melissa Lammers.
Good evening, Commission, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is Doyle Lewis. I'm a homeless man that rides a bicycle, and I use that bicycle to transfer all the way around to all the stores, all the parks, and to work. I'm having another issue with transportation and parking, because I also use the bicycle and the buses, and I leave the bike when I go to the store sometimes, or when I go to the library to study or go to school to do a class. There's somebody actually putting notes on my bicycle, on a bicycle rack. And I don't know who it is. I don't know why they're doing it, but just thought I'd bring it to the attention of the commission. It's a bicycle rack. I don't get it. So just thought I'd bring that to you. It's at the library, when I go to the library, or I go to the store and I leave it at the library from studying at the library, or I go to the river and walk. So I usually do that regularly. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Melissa Lammers, followed by Sang Roberson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Melissa Lammers, 10 Wisteria Drive, Ormond Beach, Florida. I'm on the board of Halifax River Audubon and of Audubon, Florida. I'm a member of the Florida Native Plant Society Paw chapter, and I also chair Volusia County's Environmental and Natural Resources Advisory Committee because I just love reviewing ordinances. Tonight, I represent Halifax River Audubon. We envision a community where people and wildlife thrive. So for the past 7 years, I've been giving talks about the vital role of Florida native plants to birds. You've heard the saying, canary in the coal mine? The miners took the birds in there because they would detect lethal carbon monoxide gas. The birds would die before the gas affected the miners, and they could escape to safety. Today, birds are warning us about our future. Since 1970, North America has lost nearly 3 billion birds, almost 30%. Habitat loss is a major cause, made worse by how we landscape after building. Development practices typically remove all the native vegetation that provided food and shelter for birds and other wildlife and replace it with turf grass, a few shrubs, non-native shrubs, and maybe a tree or two. Not only have birds lost places to escape and hide from predators, they've also lost places to nest, and worse, they've lost the food source for their chicks that is needed for them to fledge. That's protein in the form of insects. We're losing insects because generally they don't eat non-native plants, so there's less and less food for baby birds. The cycle is perpetuated because developers set the standards for landscaping and then deed those over to homeowners associations. Tonight, you're kicking off an important discussion about your land development codes pertaining to landscaping. Most local ordinances focus on water conservation, and you're required to follow Volusia County's 2004 WaterWise ordinance, which deals with irrigation systems and encourages Florida-friendly landscaping. Water conservation and Florida-friendly landscaping are good, but they're not good enough. They won't lead us to a future where people and wildlife thrive. These outdated ordinances are like my car. It's a 2005 model. It runs great, but it doesn't have all the modern safety features, and that's a reason to replace it. Your agenda packet talks about a need for balance between native and xeric plants. Most Florida native plants are xeric. Over millennia, they've adapted to Florida's cycles of wet and dry seasons, with the added benefit of not needing fertilizer, pesticides, or herbicides that pollute our water. What could be more Florida-friendly? The real threat that birds are warning us about is the damage we're doing to the food web we all depend on. The loss of native plants and insects endangers food sources up and down, including us. We have to change the landscape, the way we landscape in our own yards and municipal spaces. Thank you very much.
Sang Roberson, followed by Suzanne or Susie Schaefer.
Good evening, Mayor Partington and Commissioners. My name is Sang Roberson. I live at 19 Orchard Lane across the bridge. I've lived in Ormond for 51 years, and it's a treat to come before you tonight to talk about something I love, native plants. A very long time ago, Ponce de Leon came from Spain and discovered Florida, and he named it Florida, which means in Spanish a flowery place. Well, since that time, and at that time, Mother Nature had a great plan in place. She had grown the right plants to attract the right insects who munched on them and lived in them and raised their babies in them. And then the birds came and followed that same cycle. And this was true for all animals and birds and insects. Everything was in a cycle, and there were no plants from China thrown in for our birds to try to figure out what to eat, or the insects figure out what to munch on. But anyway, this balance wasn't perfect until more and more of us discovered Florida. And we came in, and what did we do? We cut down the native plant, the native trees, the plants, the bushes, and we put in lawns. Well, lawns, turf turf lawns serve no ecological purpose at all. They look pretty. They gobble up water, which we're running out of. They require fertilizers, which drain into the river. They require insecticides, which kill the bugs that belong here. So this idea of planting more native plants in Ormond Beach that's been introduced by Commissioner Tolland is a wonderful idea, and it's one I'm wholeheartedly behind. So here we are today with unparalleled growth and clear cutting, the last of our undeveloped but still native land. We have unwittingly, and I include myself in this we have re-landscaped our city with Home Depots and Lowe's plants, and most of them are not native. You as a commission have shown, or the past commission showed, and I believe you will too, that you have a willingness to co-sponsor or to sponsor bringing back the natural balance of Ormond Beach and making us a leader in reestablishing native plants for our birds, animals, possums, raccoons, you name it. Thank you all for your time, and thank Commissioner Tolland for bringing this up.
Thank you. Susie Schaefer, followed by Leslie Nixon.
I'll try better stepping up here. Hi, my name is Susie Schaefer, and I'm with the Pawpaw chapter of the Native Plant Society. And thank you very much for considering revising one of the ordinances that might open up the door for more native plants. Over the past year, I've been very involved with the Regrow the Loop effort started by the county and one of the former city commissioners here. Pawpaw is part of the Native Plant Society of Florida. The Florida Native Plant Society is part of the Native Plant Society of the United States. This is something that's a movement that's been growing across the country, and you're reading more and more about native plants being used in landscaping in the national media and in our state media as well. Now, my role with the Native Plant Society is fairly simple. I'm the librarian. Who knew that we had a library, right? It comes to each of our meetings. And we'd like to invite the City Commission to come to one of our meetings, and you can even come to it on Zoom. And I came here to support what you're hearing from Melissa, what you just heard from Sang, and what you'll be hearing from several other people this evening. And I would like to also bring a gift to you. And the gift is some information about native plants. And I have a packet for each one of you, including a nice book that came out from the Wildlife Foundation of Florida. And I'd like you to take a look at it and see what you think. The Native Plant Societies mainly were started to restore our natural habitat. But we can't restore what's being taken away fast enough to buy enough areas to become national parks. The new movement is landscaping within municipalities, government property, and also in people's neighborhoods and their landscapes. And that's what we're talking about, is getting the native plants back, giving back to the nature what nature had here before we tore it up. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Leslie Nixon, followed by Jake Steer.
My name is Leslie Nixon. My address is 864 South Beach Street. I'm a past president of the Pawpaw chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society and a master gardener in Volusia County. I have 3 points I'd like to make regarding the Ormond Beach Land Development Code. 1, the code mentions a preference for xeric plants. Florida is not a xeric environment. We do not live in Arizona. According to Florida Friendly Landscaping, quote, xeriscaping and Florida-friendly landscaping are very different concepts designed for very different climates. Because xeriscape was developed for arid climates that receive minimal rainfall, it is inappropriate for our unique Florida climate, which can include extreme wet or dry conditions. unquote. I recommend you replace the term xeric in your documents with drought-tolerant non-native. It's a mouthful, but it's more appropriate for our geographic location. Point number 2, we are not advocating 100% native Florida plantings in Ormond Beach. None of us in the Pawpaw chapter have 100% native yards. We all retain our own handful of non-native, non-invasive plants that appeal to us. We would like to recommend that the code requires more than 50% natives, though, perhaps 75%. The reasons are outlined in point 3. The benefits of native plants go far beyond their drought tolerance. Native plants rarely need fertilizer. They are adapted to our sandy, infertile soil. This saves money and the environment. Native plants rarely need pesticides. They have evolved with native insects and are used to being chewed on. They will survive. They also attract more pest predators, insects that prey on harmful ones. This saves money and the environment. Native wildflowers are either perennials or annuals that reseed themselves, meaning that they resprout and flower every year without you having going to the big box store and replace them as you do with non-native annuals. This saves money and the environment. Native plants have deeper root systems than non-native, so they naturally absorb more stormwater and reduce runoff. This saves water and the environment. Finally, native plants are preferred by wildlife over non-native plants. Native plants and native animals evolved together over eons to create tight relationships where each species depends on the other. Migrating birds rely on high-calorie berries on their long journeys. Non-native berries have been shown to be less nutritious. This saves money, think tourist dollars, and the environment. I will conclude with another quote from the University of Florida. Native plants help to restore regional landscapes. They are the best species adapted to local conditions that thrive with the least care and create a sense of place. Speaking of University of Florida, the Pawpaw chapter would like to invite the commission and the mayor and the city manager to our next meeting via Zoom on Monday, June 10th at 7 p.m. Our speaker will be from the University of Florida. We'll be talking about his native plant nursery. Thank you.
Thank you. Jake Steer, followed by Pam Novi.
Jake Steer, 751 Lindenwood Circle. I guess I get to follow, a passionate group of individuals who've had the privilege of working with on multiple occasions. And I think this is an important opportunity for the city to follow along with market changes that are happening, especially in Central Florida. And I think there's a possibility that you can incentivize developers in town to adopt these, so that way we can foster. So that way it brings them together to create the Ormond of the future that has this habitat and the valuable natural resources, ecological services, in a way that brings them along as partners, not necessarily in ways that hold them captive to the code. And I think that's a positive outcome of what this discussion could hold. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Novi, followed by Alan Burton.
Good evening, Mayor Partington and Commissioners. My name is Pamela Novi, 26 Carriage Creek Way, Ormond Beach. I applaud Commissioner Tallon for her interest in native plants as the preferred landscaping choice in all areas in our city, residential, commercial, and city properties. Over the past few years, I've observed more and more native plantings through various states as my husband and I have made several trips from Florida, Illinois, and to Illinois to see family. Many cities and states are devoting land, median strips, and city parks to planting of natives. In Florida, cities such as Sanibel, Boca Raton, Fort Myers Beach, and Sunrise, among others, are all exploring the use of public land to encourage native plants as well as encouraging citizens to plant them. The reasons for the awakening interest in natives are many. Among them are it saves money, they are beautiful, and grow well without fertilization, require minimal watering, and eliminate the need to apply chemicals. Native plants support biodiversity and provide food and shelter for native insects, birds, and other wildlife. In Ormond, we've already started our journey with the establishment of Vadner Park, a partnership with the Garden Club of Halifax Country. Let's make our city a place of beauty that people seek out. My own yard, my husband's yard and mine, is in breakaway trails, and 90% of it is landscaped now in native plants and trees. I was uncertain whether the homeowners association would accept it, but we've only gotten compliments, and it's going very well. We no longer water a useless lawn, water only to establish new plantings. We do not spray with chemicals, and we no longer need to fertilize. I would love to see our city offer incentives for citizens to do more landscaping like this. We need to reverse the trend of destroying our natural landscape and instead nurture it. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Commissioner Tolland, for doing the right thing.
Alan Burton.
Alan Burton, 915 Ocean Shore Boulevard. I've been a resident of Ormond Beach since last century. I appreciate all of you here tonight, Mr. Mayor and the City Commission, and the continuity that I have known for people that have served the city for more than 30 years. And I also really appreciate the commitment to the people I have come in contact with during Regrow the Loop. They're really fantastic people, and it just reminds me that I do express a appreciation for those hearts as well. But when I was a little younger and more insane, I was a chief administrative officer for a city the size of Ormond Beach. And then during that time, we put together the first paramedic program in western suburbs of Chicago. We also had the greatest water conservation program in the state of Illinois. We went from 45% water loss to 5%. And the only city that beat us was the city of Chicago, and they had 0 water loss. And the other one is that we put together an urban forestry program. We had over 50,000 trees in the city, and we managed them. And so I would just suggest to you that your overarching plans or policies that drive the city and encourage people to share the type of values that have been shared tonight is I think, the path you want to go. And I was told that the best way to describe a native plant is through the bell-shaped curve. Come on, you know, the mayor was talking about statistics. Well, you need to get into statistics, and I can do that, but I would say that those benefits that the previous presenters made was that they were moving from here to the green. They were being the benefit and showing good stuff for the city as opposed to the negative areas. You can do it through policy, and when you start moving that direction, you can do great things, not only today, but in the future. And that I would also like to thank you for taking this consideration for doing it, and that plan, plant, prune, and program. Put together a good plan with an umbrella of policy, and we'll get there not only for us old guys, but for our grandchildren too. And that's who I believe we really should be serving now and in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the City Commission.
Thank you. All right, Commission, the minutes from the May 21st, 2024 regular City Commission meeting have been sent to the Commission for review, also posted to the city's website. Any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We'll show those passing unanimously and move to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull any item off of the consent agenda? Commissioner Sargent.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item 7S.
I move approval of the consent agenda minus item 7S.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 7S.
Disposition item titled Request for Proposals, Property, Liability, and Workers' Compensation Insurance.
All right. I think Commissioner Sargent and Commissioner Tolland probably had statements they wanted to make prior to dealing with this.
Mr. Mayor, as we've spoke before when this item came before us. I work for an insurance company locally that potentially could bid on this insurance. Therefore, I will abstain from voting even to send this out for bid, and I will be submitting my Form 8B to the city clerk in such manner. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, I submitted my Form 8B to Susan Dodderis prior to this meeting, and I will be abstaining from this matter because my son is employed with an entity that may file a response to the RFP. I've consulted with City Council and with the Florida Commission on Ethics, and it's been recommended that I abstain due to the potential conflict of interest.
Perfect. And when you say City Council, you mean Randy Hayes?
Oh, I
Correct.
meant, yeah, you know that.
That's what I thought. You guys, what are those, 8Bs?
8B, Form 8Bs.
Form
Form
8Bs. You
8.
got your 8Bs in, and so commission that's left that is voting on 7S. I don't have any cards. Just need a motion
I
and a
move
second.
approval for for the item on the consent agenda, 7S.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. And we will move to public, well, actually, let's stop and make sure whether anyone wants to comment on any of the consent agenda items, because now would be the appropriate time, and we'll start with Commissioner Persis.
Yes, I am very excited that on item, I believe it is 7G, the parking, the valve, I think it's the valve actuators. We saved $17,000 on a bid. I think that was really good that we were able to save a little bit of money for some other important things. And I'm excited about the streetscape banding repair. It's going to look really wonderful downtown. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Sargent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to comment on, I guess, 7A, B, and C, which I know we postponed these items regarding the access road and the development on the property close to Pineland Road, and I think all that's been addressed, and it's nice to see it moving forward. And Pineland Road is on the, I believe in our workshop, we said the 27, 28 plan to be repaved, curbed, and made from a rural road to a urban road. Thank you. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep, thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll move to public hearings. I'll open the public hearings, and we'll start with 8A.
Ordinance number 2024-09, an ordinance approving and authorizing the renewal of an interlocal service boundary agreement and a planning and services delivery sub-agreement between the City of Ormond Beach and County of Volusia, Florida, regarding the North US 1 Joint Planning Municipal Service Area, approving the renewal of itinerant vendor criteria, providing for recordation, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2024-09, read by title only.
Thank you, Susan. I don't have any cards on 8A.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 8B.
Ordinance number 2024-10, an ordinance approving the final plat for the Fountain View Phase 1B subdivision shown within Phase 1 of the Plantation Oaks planned residential development, establishing conditions and expiration date of approval and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2024-10, read by title only.
Thank you. Another second reading, and I don't have any cards.
I move
approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 8C.
Ordinance number 2024-11, an ordinance amending Section 2-262, Schedule of Civil Fines of Division 3, Classification of Violations and Fines of Article 7, Code Enforcement of Chapter 2, Administration, Section 8-3, Local Amendments to Building Code of Article 1 in general of Chapter 8 Buildings and Construction Regulations, and Section 8-4.1 reserved of Article 1 in general of Chapter 8 Buildings and Construction Regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ormond Beach to implement the state-mandated milestone inspections, reports, and repairs within Section 553.899 of the Florida Statutes for condominium or cooperative association buildings 3 stories or higher, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2024-11, read by title only.
Thank you, Susan. And Stephen, I would ask you to give us a brief explanation on this. I think it's new, required by the Florida legislature. Thank you.
Good evening, Stephen Spraker, Planning Director. Before you tonight is Code of Ordinances amendments. The state of Florida did mandate inspections for condominiums, or I call them timeshares, or cooperative associations, buildings that are 3 stories or higher. They have certain age thresholds. These buildings must be inspected by a licensed design professional, either an engineer or an architect employed by the building owners. The state statute mandated local governments administer and enforce the milestone inspection process. We sent out building staff sent about 25 letters out notifying building owners of the state requirements. We received positive feedback, and some buildings are already doing their milestone inspections. The purposes of the amendments before you tonight is to establish a fee for the review and the processing reports. This fee is consistent with what other jurisdictions are assessing, and it also establishes an enforcement process. We don't think we're going to need it, but in case a condominium or timeshare fails to comply with those state requirements, we have an enforcement mechanism to ensure compliance. Staff is recommending approval. If there are any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for Planning Director?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Tolland? Yes. Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 8D.
Ordinance number 2024-12, an ordinance adopting certain updated schedules to the capital improvements element of the City of Ormond Beach Comprehensive Plan, providing when such updates shall take effect, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2024-12, read by title only.
Thank you, Susan. Commission, this comes with a 6-0 Planning Board recommendation. Also, no citizen impact anticipated as a result of the comprehensive plan amendments. Are there any questions for the Planning Director?
I move approval of ordinance number 2024-12.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 8E.
Ordinance number 2024-13, an ordinance annexing one parcel of real property into the City of Ormond Beach. Said property located at 1281 North U.S. Highway 1, Volusia County, parcel number 4206-00-00-0030, setting forth zoning privileges and obligations regarding the property, redefining the territorial boundaries of the City of Ormond Beach to include the property, redesignating the boundaries of Zone 1 of the City of Ormond Beach to include the property, providing for transmission, providing for severability, and setting forth an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2024-13, read by title only.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, this is WKL Roofing, LLC, applying for annexation into the city. They're already contiguous, and I believe this came with a unanimous planning board. No, didn't even have to go to the planning board, so just makes common sense. Commission, any questions of the Planning Director?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the vote on 8E.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 8F.
Ordinance number 2024-14, an ordinance annexing one parcel of real property into the City of Ormond Beach, said property being located at 651 South Ridgewood Avenue, Volusia County, parcel number 4242-20-32-01 redefining the territorial boundaries of the City of Ormond Beach to include the property, redesignating the boundaries of Zone 2 of the City of Ormond Beach to include the property, setting forth zoning privileges and obligations regarding the property, providing for transmission, providing for severability, and setting forth an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2024-14, read by title only.
Thank you. Again, this annexation, the property is contiguous to Ormond Beach. They are connecting to utilities. Any questions for the planning director on 8F?
I move approval of ordinance number 2024-14.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 8G.
Resolution number 2024-96, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, approving the preliminary plat for Fountain View Phase 1F, shown within Phase 1 of the Plantation Oaks Planned Residential Development, establishing conditions and expiration date of approval and setting forth an effective date. This is resolution number 2024-96, read by title only.
Thank you, Susan. I do not have any cards on this one. Does anyone have any questions of the planning director?
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? I'll just point out that it's a preliminary plat. It's just a technical review, and it does come with a 6-0 recommendation from the planning board. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes, and we will close the public hearings and move to 9A.
Ordinance number 2024-15, an ordinance of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, amending Article 4, Police Officers Pension Trust Fund of Chapter 16, Pensions and Retirement of the Code of Ordinances, amending Section 16-77, Pre-Retirement Death, amending Section 16-80, Optional Forms of Benefits, amending Section 16-86, Minimum Distribution of Benefits, providing for severability of provisions, providing for codification, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2024-15, read by title only.
Thank you. And Commission, I don't have any cards. I think we had requested that this was going to be brought back to us. Just need a motion in this.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, or questions? Commissioner Sargent.
Just like to make a comment on this. This is basically bringing the pension to where the general employees and the fire department already were. Is that correct?
Not the general employees, just the fire department.
Just the fire. So it's matching because they were off at some point. So, okay. Just want that clarification. Thank you.
Kelly will correct me.
Excuse me, Finance Director Kelly McGuire.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So the change is only to the pre-retirement death benefit, and it's not to the amount. It's just to the time frame that the surviving spouse gets the benefit. It is 10 years for police. It is lifetime for fire in general. So we're changing it to lifetime for police as well.
Thank you.
Certainly.
I just want to say thank you for bringing that up and getting us consistent where we need to be.
Commissioner Persis.
And I just think it's just a wonderful thing for us to do for our first responders. It's been a long time coming. Thank you.
And Commissioner, let's see, Deputy Mayor Briley.
I'll just echo those comments, Mr. Mayor. This is long overdue and well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sargent.
Thank you. I wasn't done, but Commissioner Tolan jumped in. I think this is a great thing, and also that it's going to help Officer Becase's family, who we lost this past year, for this benefit for his family that he leaves behind. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Anything else, Commission? If not, we have a motion and a second. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Sargent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Briley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolland?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 10A.
Discussion item titled Native Plants.
Thank you, and I'll ask our city engineer, Alex Schuman, to speak on this item.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Alex Schuman, city engineer. I also have with us tonight Kara Culver, our landscape architect. As we heard tonight, this is a discussion item to discuss where we currently are with our land development code and the native plants, what other jurisdictions do, and looking to begin the process of recommendations from you as a commission before we work through the rest of the process, talking with our the development side of the community, the native plant folks, getting community input at large before coming back to you with final recommendations. So without further ado, Kara Culliver.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Kara Culliver, City Landscape Architect, Engineering Department. I'm pleased to be here to speak about the native planting discussion topic. Tonight we'd like to review the existing native planting requirements Ormond Beach Land Development Code. Also, I'd like to review and see what other jurisdictions are doing with their codes, and then recommendations. So the majority of landscape ordinances are written around the conservation of water. Municipalities in Volusia County are required to follow the Volusia County Waterwise Ordinance. The purpose of the Waterwise Ordinance, which was adopted in 2004, was to encourage waterwise landscape irrigation standards and encourage the use of Florida-friendly landscaping practices, which promotes the use of native and xeric plant materials. What are native and xeric plants? Native plants are indigenous to our area and naturally occurring in all parts of the county. A great example of this is the dune sunflower, which grows on our dune beach area in a salty environment. A xeric plant is utilizing native or drought-tolerant plants which need minimal water after establishment. That's very important. After establishment, people think that planting a native plant will establish immediately. Native plants take just as long to establish as an ornamental plant or a non-native plant. So shrubs take about 7 months to establish. A great example of this is the sea purslane, which also grows on the dune environment. It's really important to recognize it's a huge number of ornamental plants that conserve water. Their purpose is to conserve water as well as with the native plants. Majority of the codes are written around Florida. Majority of codes in Florida are written around water conservation, and also nationally. Water is becoming more scarce, as we become more populated. It's important to note there needs to be a balance between the use of native and xeric plants because they go together. A common misconception is that the Florida-friendly landscape principles dictate the use of only native plant species to Florida. The fact is that the Florida-friendly program encourages a mix of natives and non-natives, depending on which plants are right for the particular location, which is very important. Right plant, right place. So that governs the selection of plants. As you have in your packet, there's 9 Florida-friendly principles. These are based on UF and IFAS science to implement environmentally sound design and maintenance techniques. I'm not going to go through I'm not going to go through them, but they're in your packet. If you want to ask additional questions, I can answer that. So what is Ormond Beach doing? What Ormond's doing is 50% of the replacement trees shall be native in all zoning districts, and at least 50% of all landscape areas shall be xeric plantings. In addition to that, we have the Greenbelt Preservation District, which is along our major thoroughfare roads, such as I-95, North US 1, Clyde Morris, Williamson Boulevard. And in the Greenbelt Preservation District, our code says that 60% of the Greenbelt area has to be planted with native plantings. Then the other 40% can be other plant materials. What's Volusia County doing? Volusia County requires 50% of all required landscape materials shall be native. And they also require 50% of the shrub and hedges to be drought tolerant. Daytona Beach, there's no percentage for native requirement in their code. Port Orange, they require 75% of the required shade trees shall be native, and minimum 75% of the required plant materials should be drought tolerant. Palm Coast requires 50% of the landscape areas to be planted with native or plants that conserve water. The land requires 75% of the total number of plants selected in each category to be native. Holly Hill, South Daytona, New Smyrna, there's no mention of native or xeric requirements or concepts in their code. I put together a native plant listing and a xeric plant listing just for your information. And the recommendations, 1 would be no change to the city native and xeric land development code. 2 would be no changes to the Greenbelt Preservation Code. Number 3, amend the code to read at least 50% of all required landscape materials should be native. This will be in line with what Volusia County is doing if we implement this one. Number 4 is to amend the code to read at least 75% of all required landscape materials shall be native or xeric plantings. Also, I'd like to hear your commission's recommendations on this topic.
Mr. Mayor? Kara, just clarification, your recommendations. Recommendations are 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or excuse me, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or all of those, are those 4 your recommendations, and then you want other comments?
Yeah, I mean, you know, either we can, number 1, we can leave it as is. Number 2, the Greenbelt preservation, we could, you know, leave that or don't leave that as is or make changes. But 3 and 4 are my recommendations, or to be in line with what Volusia County's doing. 50% of all plant materials shall be native.
So she's, in other words, giving us a lot of options.
Sure, yeah.
They're just options.
We can say, make it.
Because I think there's some things like with the Greenbelt and the gateway preservation requirements that we do like.
I'm sorry.
You say you would not want changes to it.
Well, I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of things in there that we do like as far as number 2, but.
Well, let me do this. If anybody has questions or comments for Alex or Kara, let's do that, and then we'll go to Commissioner Tolland, who's going to school us on native plants.
All right.
And then we'll get to the recommendation part towards the end, or direction part, I guess, towards the end. This is just a discussion.
We can provide you additional clarification.
Perfect.
Correct. Thank you.
Any questions for Kara? Thank you, Kara. That was very detailed. Questions or comments for Alex or Kara? Okay, let's go to Lori then.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for that presentation. I do appreciate that. You know me, I write everything down. I have to read it because I don't want to forget anything important. And I will say a lot of the comments I was going to make, a lot of the ladies made, so I apologize if it's redundant. I'll try not to reiterate too much. I do want to start with a little quote that I found from a website called Outside Collab, and it was given to me this afternoon, actually by Jake Stair, where I was talking with him about some of the ideas I was trying to bring across to you. And what I found on that website, it says, it's a profound cultural shift towards respecting and nurturing our planet. Integral to this transformation is storytelling, a powerful tool that weaves a narrative connecting people with their environment. So that kind of just sets the tone as to what I want to share with you, and then we can discuss what's going to be best for Ormond Beach. It's no surprise that I support this conversation, and I have high hopes that you will agree with me that this is a critical conversation. It's my hope that in Ormond Beach, Florida native plants are the preferred landscaping choice in all applications, and that Ormond Beach is recognized as a statewide leader in native plant installations in municipal spaces. Why make a change? Water conservation remains an imperative for Florida, but we have additional conservation needs, especially as we undergo our growth spurts. Our food web or biodiversity is under threat from how we develop and how we manage our natural resources. It's most illustrated by the birds, and I'm not going to reiterate. Melissa talked about the birds, and at the end of the day, they need food. Let's see, when the habitat is lost to development, that happens when we don't replant with native plants. And this is largely due on how we landscape after development, which is the choice we can make. When we develop, we typically remove all the native vegetation that provides the shelter and food for the birds and replace it with turf grass, a few non-native decorative plants, and possibly a tree. That removes the shelter for the migrating birds, removes the insects. Oh, it's going on and on, never mind. And that goes all the way up the food chain. The county's WaterWise ordinance dates back to 2004, and Kara just shared that with us, and it focuses on water conservation. It establishes the minimum for municipalities to follow, and I believe Ormond Beach is better than the minimum. There's nothing that precludes Ormond Beach from going further than the minimum, and in fact, the county is now examining its new environmental ordinances. In the past 20 years, a lot has changed. Water conservation is a bigger imperative for the state, but also we're losing our biodiversity. Our landscaping does not support the diversity of plant and animal life for optimal health. Development isn't going to stop, so we must do a better job to preserve the food web. So now I just want to talk on slide 3, the native versus xeric plants. And I don't know if it would be easier if that slides up when I'm talking, but if it is, great. If it's not, it's okay. So xeric and native plants go together, like Kara said, when we focus on water. And remember, Florida-friendly principles, it was all based on water conservation, which is a great foundation. But we need to think beyond water needs and toward preservation of our food web. And for that, we need to favor the Florida native plants above others. So xeric landscaping, as Kara described, is popular in the arid climates and where there isn't a lot of water for irrigation, and they're placed in naturally dry areas. A huge number of the ornamental plants are xeric and are not native, and their purpose is to conserve water, and they are absolutely gorgeous, but they don't provide the food. Florida is different. We have natural cycles of flood, drought, fire, and our native plants have adapted to those cycles. In general, Florida native plants are naturally suited to the wet and dry cycles, and they need very little supplementation with irrigation in times of drought. And I agree with Kara, they do need to be established first. It's not like you plant a native plant and it's going to survive. As far as the Florida-friendly principles go, they are great, but they don't address the biodiversity. Florida native plants conserve water and supply a food web with the added benefits to the following principles. So on principle 3, if you could shoot to that. Principle 3 is fertilize appropriately. Native plants rarely need any kind of fertilizer. These are obviously once they're established. For principle 5, they are the plants that the wildlife evolved with and which will provide food sources up and down the food chain. So that's what the native plants do. And principle 6, some of these plants as food sources are eaten, but they do do not require chemicals in the forms of herbicides and pesticides, so you don't need as much of that. And of course, we know what happens with the pesticides and herbicides. They run into the groundwater, and eventually go to the Halifax, which we're now trying to, it's an impaired water, I think that's the terminology now, and we're trying to work on. So I will almost conclude. To be a leader and a good steward of our environment, I would like this commission to consider increasing the use of Florida native plants in our municipal landscaping. Florida native plants provide a sense of place. They're the foundation for our biodiversity. They play an important role in sustainability and resilience in our community. Increasing native plants in our code is responsible response to address the increasing water scarcity. Are you laughing?
Mulch. You were laughing at number 4.
Oh, mulch. Yeah, I wasn't even going to bring up mulch. Water quality. Generally, native plants don't need the herbicides, so obviously the water quality could be improved. And they cost less because they need less water, less fertilizers, less poisons, and they self-seed. And they obviously provide replacement of habitat lost during driven by development. So my recommendation to staff, what I would like to recommend, and I would love for you guys to discuss, is four topics. Replacement trees, and I would say, if you want to put to your recommendations, I would say that the replacement trees should be 75% zoning, 75% native in all the zoning districts. Port Orange and DeLand already have that, and you know we're a leader. 50% of landscape areas should be native plantings. I would not use the word xeric. I would use the word native. 50% native plants. And that's also what Volusia County uses already. And remember, everybody's updating their codes now. They're going to be, the trend is going towards more native, more sustainability. Now, Port Orange has a shade tree ordinance, and Ormond Beach does not. I would recommend that we do a shade tree ordinance where 75% of the required shade trees that are planted would be native. And of course, with these, staff would have to re-examine the irrigation requirements when they're examining their new plant lists. The plant list that CARE provided was awesome. There are some that are starting to be evaluated whether they should stay on the list or not. And so I would like staff to re-examine those lists and also the irrigation requirements. Because think about it, if you're going to plant a bunch of native plants and eventually you won't need the irrigation, you don't want to plant them near like turf that's going to need a lot of grass. So there needs to be some flexibility in there somehow. The other thing I just want to throw out there and put in your heads is, we just re-landscaped City Hall. And I was real excited because I thought this would be a showcase for us. And it is a showcase in that it showcases the Florida-friendly principles. But when you look at it and you look at the amount of native plants that are in that, it's very few native plants except for the existing trees. So what I would love to propose is that we applaud the City Hall, as beautiful as it is with the new landscaping, but look towards Casson Park as maybe our new trophy for native plants in our city. And so if you want to talk about the green belt, I think the green belt is great, but I would even increase that to 75% to be consistent with everything else. So this is a persuasive speech that I never took public speaking in high school or college. I wish I did. I did my very best to show you all how passionate I am. I'm hoping that we can come up with something to give direction to staff, and poor Chief Godfrey won't have to listen to me talk about natives every meeting. So anyway, that's it.
I think the chief loves this stuff. Commissioner Persis.
Yeah. Well, Commissioner Tallon, we all know you're very passionate about this, and it is the right thing. I mean, it is totally the right thing. So I applaud you for you championing this, all the time. I really do. I know it's near and dear to your heart, and because really because of you, I've read a little bit. I mean, I am certainly not that knowledgeable in native plants, but I know it's important for our food system. I know for our birds, and I have learned that. So I do think we need to make a change. And I agree with you, Commissioner Tallon. Ormond Beach is better. Ormond Beach needs to be better. I would look to, if I was going to make a change right now, I would say go to the 75% of the native plants. That would be what I was thinking, and work on getting more shade trees. I don't remember what the percentage was that you said.
I had said 75%.
Okay.
It's just because that's what Port Orange has.
Yeah, and I think that would work with me. I like the 75% number.
So we don't have an ordinance right now.
Right.
But that would be something Stephen and Kara would have to look into and see how that fits into it.
Once we get direction from the commission, we can bring something back to you.
Wouldn't it have to go through planning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now he speaks.
I just want to summarize what city manager was. So what we would do is take the input from the commission. We would go meet with whomever wants to meet on a topic, from design professionals to interested parties, get their input, and then go planning board and then back to the commission. So just going through the process.
Seems like a good process. Deputy Mayor Briley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Tom, I guess, and I don't have a problem with the 75%. Actually, I'm good with that. But and then my question, I guess, on number 2 is no changes to the city's Greenbelt and Gateway preservation requirements, because we're already requiring preservation of native species in that zone. So I mean, I guess this may kind of enhance that. I guess
I think it's at 60% now. So I would just up it to whatever we're doing citywide.
Okay. And I agree. I mean, and you know, we hear about, you know, the birds, but not to be funny, but I mean, it's also important for the bees, because without bees, there's no life. And, you know, I
love the fact that you guys are talking about birds and bees up here.
Well,
because of you. And we're going to talk about mulch in a minute.
But I mean, but, you know, and, you know, you hear a lot about bees running out of, you know, pollinated plants, and I think this would help them as well. So I think anything we can do to help, you know, our ecosystem as well as help our environment is a good thing. One question, on number 4, did you want to take, if you're requiring, if it's 75%, are you still wanting to take xeric plants out and just make it native plants?
So what happens is you use the words native and xeric, and like what happened in City Hall, and you can speak to it, it ended up being mostly xeric. There was not as much native, and that's what it...
Because there is a difference.
And the xeric does not provide the food.
Right.
The native plants do. So that's why I would recommend the native. And it doesn't really handcuff the developers. I mean, I have talked to a few folks about that, and that's what you worry about. That there's some misconceptions with natives. Number 1, they're ugly. You know, they don't have that manicured look. You can't find them. Well, there's more nurseries now starting to procure them, and even UF is starting to work with these big box stores saying, hey, we don't want that anymore. So it's an education piece more than anything.
I also wanted to say when we redo Casson Park, we know what Vadner Park looks like and what a great job you all did. And so if we can do something like that, which would be on a grander scale at Casson Park, that would be fabulous.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up. I'm very proud of Vadner Park.
Anything else, Deputy Mayor?
No, sir.
Commissioner Sargent.
Mulch.
No, I don't care about mulch. I do, as Commissioner Persis said, I'd like to applaud you for educating us on native plants. And I was sitting in my office today, and the gentleman across the way, Rich Cooper, comes to me and he goes, hey, Commissioner Tullen's coming down. I said, for what? To talk about native plants, to do our landscaping at our new office building. So she's not just up here trying to persuade us to do it. She's out there living it. So I'm fine with your recommendations on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commission. So I hear you wanting to have staff come back with something like Port Orange and DeLand.
So, Mr. Mayor, that's what we're hearing from your direction, but just so you know what our process normally is we do like a public input from the community, and then we would take it to the planning board and bring it back to you. Is that correct, Stephen?
Yeah, the more public input, the better, so everybody has a chance to be heard and get as much information as possible. I think Commissioner Tolland and the different groups that are interested in this will make sure that you have as much information as you need on all those things. And anything else that you need on that from staff's perspective? Great, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Tolland.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. And we will go to reports, suggestions, and requests, and start with City Manager Joyce Shanahan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a review of your calendar. Today we had our first budget workshop with you, and we'll have our second budget workshop on I think it's July 23rd. So typically the commission allows staff to have a break to work on and finalize the budget between June and July. So your break period would be June 5th through July 22nd. So mark your calendars accordingly. August 20th, we will have a workshop regarding Yellowstone and NID. Those are two items that you asked us to bring back for consideration. Hopefully we'll have those prepared for you at that time. Just really want to take a moment to say a special thanks to Susan and Jason Isaacs for their city and the city clerk's office for the Citizens Academy. She really did an outstanding job. Let's give her a round of applause. If you could have only seen her in the workshops with department head staff, she reviewed everybody's presentation. She told them sometimes that they weren't enough fun. They all had interesting activities to do, and it was really a great learning experience for those, I think, 21 members of the inaugural Citizens Academy, and you did a great job. We will have another one, I think, sometime in February of next year. Is that the plan? Yes. We'll probably do those once a year from this point forward. Let's see what else do I got on my list here. So the contract, did we award that to Bomar? So we awarded the contract tonight to Bomar for redoing the PAC to get us back to the pre-fire condition. And we will start construction soon on that. Our city camps have started in full force. You've seen them in EnviroCamp. We've had folks at the South Ormond Neighborhood Center, and it's just been a great time to see that happening. One of my most favorite events is happening on June 15th, a couple Saturdays from now, and that's the Reel in the Fun fishing tournament. This is the final leg, I think, of we have 3 tournaments each year, one in the river, one at Central Park, and the last one at the ocean. And that's really exciting to see kids out there fishing in the early morning. I don't see Ike here tonight, but Ike is always there. He has fishing reels for the kids. He provides hot dogs, and it's a great environment for everybody to celebrate in. And then, because you won't be here, I'll remind you that one of the best things that we do here in Ormond Beach is celebrate the 4th of July, and this will be the nation's 248th birthday, and that's on Thursday, July 4th from 8 to 9:30 p.m. The fireworks will go off at 9 p.m. sharp. There will be food, music, and fireworks, and as you know, we launch them from the river, and everybody gets a great view from that. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions that you may have or take any direction.
Thank you, Joyce. Any questions for the city manager? Thank you. Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley. Thank you, Claire, and the city attorney, Randy Hayes. Just demote him all of a sudden.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Good deal. And tonight we start with Commissioner Tolland.
Since I took up so much time, I have some very just brief comments. I sincerely want to thank you guys for consideration and for your support of the Native Plant Initiative. It really does mean a lot, and I think we are looking towards the future. So thank you. I do want to congratulate Joyce on her Outstanding Woman in Government Award that she received in honor of Mary Swiderski. I want to congratulate Bill Cardington for the Mayor Blaine O'Neill Award for his service to government. Yeah. And I also want to congratulate Bill and Susan for their recognition as hometown heroes. And this was all at the League of Cities annual banquet. I want to congratulate the Seabreeze student ZZ Nichols and her Allied Health Academy teacher, Miss Lemon, on their CPR event. It's so funny that it came up tonight because I was going to talk to you all about the American Heart Association walk, and I had my CPR sheet with me tonight. I am going to challenge you all as commissioners to see if you would like to join me in a team to walk for the American Heart Association, which is going to be held on October 4th. If you guys are interested, I will create a team and we can invite our family members and we can be an Ormond Beach force for the American Heart Association.
Is that the Speedway walk? From Randy for that? Is that the walk at the Speedway?
It's at the Speedway. Yeah. We won't talk anything about work.
They might have to advertise it.
And I also want to congratulate Susan and staff for the Citizens Academy. So I'm keeping my comments brief. Thank you so much. And if it's okay, how do I reach out with Sunshine? Can I send something to you and you can send it to all the commissioners? Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sargent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I won't rehash what Commissioner Tolan said, but I echo her comments. Memorial Day celebration. I don't know if you didn't get to hear Pari Lewis, who is a Chief Warrant Officer in the Marine Corps, his story was pretty cool to hear. I highly recommend. I don't know if we can put it on out there for people to read it or if people want to Google it, but wow, pretty powerful story he had. Just a couple things. Volusia announced their 2024 summer meal sites for the county's youth. I don't know if we can put that out there on social media.
And we participate as well.
Yes, there's several Ormond locations, just if we could put that out on social media so our residents can see that. Volusia County Schools, you know, Port Orange had the tragic accident at one of their elementary schools, and now that school is out, I don't know if the city of Ormond can work with the school board or whoever we need to work with to make sure that our schools are operating as safely as possible once they open back up in August, and take the initiative to address any issues that we may have before school reconvenes. Hurricane season started June 1st. I encourage everyone to get your hurricane supplies now and get ready before, I guess I should do it myself before I never do it, but just to be prepared for hurricanes. Excuse me. At the county meeting today, they discussed code enforcement wearing body cameras, and there's a lot of issues with this legally, and they directed staff to work with state legislator on this issue just to get clarification. So if we can just monitor that, I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. Maybe we can just follow them. Once they do all the heavy lifting, we can just implement it maybe, if the commission wants that. I'd also like to thank the residents that came out to speak on Riverbend Golf Course. I brought this issue up last commission meeting because I had heard that residents wanted a golf course reopened, and I brought that up and I know it's a heavy lift, could potentially be $8 to $10 million. I know the residents said it was $8 million to construct, but I think the condition that it's in and today's cost of everything, it could be $8 to $10 million with irrigation to get it up and running if that was something. But at the last commission meeting, I'm just reading over the minutes. as the mayor said, to have staff check with FAA and then bring it back to us to even, if that's even an option, to move forward before we discuss going out for an RFP. So, and then it was nice to see Sang Robertson today, speaking on native plants. She was my first boss. I worked in her art studio. She's a renowned ceramics maker, I guess you could say, potter, who had stuff, would do the shows in the Smithsonian and traveled all over the place. And it was, I learned how to use a broom pretty well with her. And unfortunately, my family and I will not be at the July 4th. We will be out of town for that event. And that's unfortunate because I always enjoy the event that the City of Ormond Beach puts on. It's always a terrific event for family, and unfortunately, we will be out of town. And with that, I'll say goodnight.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Persis.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to congratulate Mayor Partington for receiving the Mayor Blaine O'Neill Award, and congratulating City Manager Joyce Shanahan for receiving the Mary Swedewski Outstanding Woman in Government Award. Very well deserved. The Memorial Day remembrance was so well attended. I think it was one that was most crowded. It was excellent, and I too thought the speaker, Pierre Lewis, his story was quite touching. It was really meaningful, and I think it hit home with a lot of people. And I also just wanted to let you know, I was not here at the last meeting, but I was in Washington, D.C., and I want to thank staff for allowing me to attend the Florida League of Cities Fast Fly-In. And what they do is they get action agenda items, and we go up to DC and we talk to congressmen and women, and we tell them what we think we need right here in the state of Florida and locally. So I just wanted to share briefly what the 3 action items were that we discussed up in DC. The first one was PFAS, and what PFAS are, this is a terrible chemical that's made its way into our communities around the country. They're man-made chemicals that have been manufactured and used in a variety of industries since the 1940s, and Florida's municipalities support the efforts for a long-term solution to PFAS management and recognize the need to protect public health and the environment, and share the goal of holding accountable those entities that are primarily responsible for PFAS contamination. That was the first one. It was very well received. The second item was the National Flood Insurance Program, and we urged Congress to advocate for long-term reauthorization packets that provide affordability for existing and future policyholders, more accurate flood mapping because ours are way outdated, and resiliency initiatives. That also was well received. And of course in Florida with the amount of storms that we have, it's quite concerning. And then the last one was simplifying local government grants. And we mentioned this early, how our staff is so great about getting grants right here for us, and a lot of small cities don't have the staff or don't have the wherewithal to go and get these grants. So we told Congress that we would like to have them streamline and simplify the grant application process so that cities, towns, and villages with lower populations have equal opportunities to secure federal grant dollars. And all of it was well received and right there on their agenda. So I felt really good about that. And hopefully that will help some people right here in Ormond Beach. And let's see, I think that's all that I had. I just want to say I was real happy to see Seabreeze High School right here getting, people getting recognized. From most of us went to Seabreeze High School here, and we're very proud of that. And with that, I'll say goodnight. I hope everyone has a safe evening and a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner, Deputy Mayor Bryland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will chime in and congratulate you, Mr. Mayor, for winning the Blaine O'Neill, being awarded the Blaine O'Neill Award this year, as well as Joyce for being awarded the Mary Swedewski Award, and both Commissioner Persis and Mayor Partington for the Hometown Hero Champions Award.
Joyce got the Hometown Hero.
And Joyce, I'm sorry, and Joyce Shanahan. That's right. Joyce got the Hometown Heroes Award. That's right. Those three of us. The three of our folks from Ormond Beach. So.
I'd like to amend my comments to include Joyce in the hometown.
Me too.
You know, during the workshop tonight, we discussed, I think, one of the issues that Sean brought up was sidewalk rehabilitation. And I'm just throwing this out there as a discussion item. We may want to look at maybe amending this in our land development code. Anything that has to do with street trees. If you look at some of our neighborhoods in the city, I think not Chelsea Place, excuse me, Spring Meadows is a prime example. If you even look outside the city, Halifax Plantation is a fine example of where the developer is required to plant, in Halifax Plantation's case, oak trees between the sidewalk and the road. And those trees over time create problems with the sidewalk as far as unevenness, and those issues become not only a maintenance issue for the city, but they also create a liability to the city as far as if the city doesn't maintain those sidewalks and cure any cracks or unlevel sidewalk issues. There's liability associated with that. So we may want to look at maybe changing the types of trees or limiting the types of trees that can be used as street trees, just so they don't have those massive root balls that start disrupting either the pavement of the road or the concrete of the sidewalk. So don't know what your take is on that, Mr. Mayor. I know.
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, different types of trees have been planted over the years through different administrations, and finding one that's appropriate, that doesn't have a huge root ball, but is still stable and appropriate, I think would be probably the best recommendation.
Yeah,
Lori probably knows one.
Well, I'm definitely not the expert, but the only I agree with you with how the maintenance with the sidewalks with the tree roots, but those trees are generally the ones that create the canopy. And that's one thing. When you go up the scenic loop, you see the canopy. So maybe that's something Stephen and Kara can help us with when we get to that point, because that is a liability, tripping on sidewalks as well. But there's got to be a good answer.
Sure. Right. Very good. I want to thank. Well, first, I want to congratulate our citizens who are graduates of the Citizens Academy tonight. Thank you to Justin and to Susan for putting that program together. That was great, and I certainly appreciate that. We recently had or going to, if we haven't already received, a resignation from Phil Maroney from the Volusia Growth Management Commission. And I have heard and spoken to a possible replacement for Mr. Maroney on the VGMC, which I thought I would bring about tonight, and that is Mr. Bill Navarra. Has expressed interest on serving on the VGMC. So, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to maybe ask that this be put on a future agenda.
I thought I saw a resignation. Joyce may have more information for us, but I think she was going to bring us a agenda item. I think Phil's was done immediately, and then as far as I know, Bill Navarro is the only person that was interested, so that should be coming forward.
So I can bring you, I think you have to have a resolution to do that, so I'll bring that to you. Yes, we did receive a resignation, and I'll make sure you get a copy of all of that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Just some good news to end on. Yesterday, Commissioner Persis and I were able to attend Seabreeze High School, and they've announced a new athletic director for Seabreeze High School, Mr. Anthony Campanella. And I think most people remember Campy, as we affectionately call him, as the baseball coach for Seabreeze High School for many, many years. He was there for 28 years, was recently at Atlantic High School, and is now back at Seabreeze as their athletic director. So I want to congratulate Campy on his appointment as the athletic director. And lastly, I want to just make note and comment on a milestone in Major League Baseball that was reached Friday night, as Hunter Wendelstedt set a Major League record for father and son legacies in Major League Baseball, as far as this Wendelstedt name officiating the most games in baseball. So, and that number continues to climb as Hunter's not done yet. So, but I do want to congratulate the Wendelstedt family. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll say good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.